Welcome to our daily Patreon class in Rabbi Nachman. We are in Likutei Moharan, Torah Samech, and we've learned a whole series of amazing ideas in this Torah that have led us to the understanding that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai went to visit his master, Rabbi Akiva, in jail, was put into prison by the Romans for teaching Torah in public, and Rabbi Akiva did not want to teach him Torah, because there is a time and a space where a teacher is in the mochin de katnut, he's in a smaller mental frame, he's lost his expanded consciousness, and he's in jail, tachlis, and it's not a pretty place to be, I'm sure, in the Roman days. And Rabbi Shimon nonetheless wants to learn Torah with him. And this is one of the ways that Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us how it could be that such a great student could provoke his master by threatening to put him in jail when he's already in jail, and by reporting him to his father, who is not really in the picture at this point in the game, but rather to bring this chut avot onto Rabbi Akiva, because he was from the son of converts. And we know that when a person converts, he gets a completely new soul from heaven, and spiritually he is not the same person, and therefore he's not really on that high level connected to his physical, biological parents in the way that he was before. Of course, he's still responsible, according to the Torah, for treating his parents properly. But nonetheless, Rabbi Akiva was in jail, and Rabbi Shimon was trying to draw him out to the learning of Torah. And this is where we're holding in it's really, the paragraphs aren't numbered, but it's about the third column in the printing I have of Likutei Moharan. So the reason he was first, Rabbi Shimon was asking him to teach him Torah because he wanted to bring him into Gadlus. It pained him to see his own Rebbe in jail, and he wanted to bring him out of that katnus, the smallness of that place, into a greater expansion of knowledge and wisdom. Because when you see someone that you love suffering, the first impulse we all have is to want to bring them out of there, bring them out of the suffering. And he was going to Rabbi Shimon was trying to force Rabbi Akiva to say over Torah, because that would force him out of the katnus and into the godlus by speaking. And this is one of the secrets, by the way, of teaching, is that if you want to continue to grow and to learn in Torah, you have to not just learn, you have to teach. You have to give it over. Now, it might be to, your spouse, it might be to So the king's chief job is the revelation of Chasadim. And the ultimate Chasadim that you can reveal to anyone is your Torah. So that's what Rabbi Shimon was thinking in the background of his thoughts when he was trying to force Rabbi Akiva to say Torah, to give over those Hasidim. And why? And this will fix Shu Tikenet Pagam. And this would fix the Pagam that could have been caused when Rabbi Akiva taught Torah in public to people who were not fitting to hear it. Now, if you've never experienced this, imagine you're at a rock concert and you start giving over Torah. You know what's going to happen? They're going to shout you down. They're going to laugh at you. Maybe some people will listen. But a lot of people are going to be like, what are you doing here doing this? This is not appropriate. And so this idea is an idea that we can relate to in terms of kavod, honor, which we learned earlier, that the idea of giving Torah to the wrong place is bringing down the kingship of Hashem. And so even though you might say there's some wonderful young people at that rock concert, I want to bring them back. We have to be very careful what we say and when we say it and how we say it. Now, along these lines, I just heard a story in the Sukkah this year that Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach was in a club in Tel Aviv, and he was scheduled to speak. And there were a couple of comedians speaking before him. Now, this is quite a few years ago, but I'm sure the comedians had what to say that was not exactly kosher, you know. And so the first comedian spoke, and Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach was like, wow, I got to listen to this talk, you know, all the slang, the dirty language, etc. The lack of honor for other human beings is one of the main ways that people create humor. And then the second comedian came on and did more of the same. And now Rabbi Shlomo had brought his daughter with him, who was a teenager at the time. And she said, Abba, you can't stay here. These people have no respect for you or for the Torah, and it's not your respect to be here. So you see, this teenager, she understood the principle right away, that you cannot bring the Malchut down to the lowest level, that there is an idea why the king is in a palace, because the king is supposed to be at a higher level. And if you bring the king down to the street level, people will lose respect for him. And if they lose respect for him, they'll lose respect for themselves, and they'll lose respect for God. And so there's a structure that has to be maintained. And so Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach told his daughter, no, I'm going to talk to them anyways. And he went up on the stage and he told them, you know, I'm not buying anything here that you're selling. But I know there's some wonderful, sweet, beautiful Jews here. And I came to talk to them. And when he started out that way, the next thing you know, he talked for hours and they asked him to keep talking into the night, because he appealed to that inner sense of the person. So that's a special gift that he had. And it's not something that we do per se. Right? It's not something that you set out to do, unless you're on this level of Avat Yisrael of a person like Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. Now, another story related to this concept is that once Rabbi Shlomo used to dance with the Hasidim at his concerts. He would play music and tell stories on the stage, and he was a huge Talmid Chacham and knew a lot of Torah and a lot of Hasidic lore and history. But after the concert, he would come down and they would all dance in the audience. And at a certain point in his career, Rabbi Shlomo stopped dancing with the audience after his shows. And at one point, a Hasid asked, perhaps my friend Rebbe Yankele Shemesh asked, Rebbe, why did you stop dancing with us at the concerts? And Reb Shlomo answered, because now I know what it means to stand on the stage. And when you understand what it means to stand on the stage, then you understand a lot about our relationship to God. God could reveal himself every moment of every second of every day to every person. But being human beings, we would get too used to it. We would not understand that God is really part of the palace. That's his home. He wants a place here inside us. He wants a place in this world. But he can't reveal it all the time. He wants us to reveal it. And God knows what it means not to come off the stage and dance with the people, because he's dancing inside the people. But really, it's an important concept that we all need to have, because I know as an American, we have this kind of anti-authority position in a lot of ways. It's something that's come out, the Americans were anti-authority when they rebelled from the British 270 whatever years ago. I don't know how many years, 250 something, that the Americans founded their country on the idea of anti-authoritarianism, because they were tired of the authority of the British monarchy and the Church of England. And of course, Rome always had its hands in world matters. So it's understandable. It's understandable that people would be anti-authority. But when you come to religion, you understand the value of authority. We understand the value of having a Rabbi Akiva and having a Rabbi Shimon above us, and to let them be the great ones that they are, and not try to bring them down to our level. They were not at our level, but they had to go through our levels at certain points, I'm sure, in their careers. They had to go through very difficult places to get where they got to. Now, it's just very ironic that I just gave a class on the Master Series on Patreon on reincarnation that we've been doing now for almost 4 months. And in that very Tikkun 31, the Hakdamah 31, Lamed Aleph, in Shar Gilgulim of Rabbi Chaim Vital, there talks about Rabbi Akiva. Interesting enough that he is from the Ekev of Adam Rishon. And the heel of Adam Rishon is the lowest place on the tree of life. And yet also from there was Yaakov Avinu. And also Akiva ben Mahalalel. And all these great tzaddikim from this lowest place on the map of the universe, of the tree of life. Well, rather, the Rav explains there, because they were at that lowest level, they could connect to the highest level, which, of course, the highest level is the first soul. And the first soul is the soul of Messiah himself, who was created at the moment of Ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim. And so with all that said, we can understand again why we need the structure. That so many people, and I see them always on the streets of Jerusalem, spiritual searchers. But the minute you introduce the idea of authority or structure or hierarchy, something goes off in their brain. They don't like it. Because basically, no one likes to be told what to do. That's the nature of the Yetzer Hara. Because, of course, the ultimate Yetzer Hara is that I'm a king. Ana emloch. I want to rule the show. And that's just a big Yetzer Hara, unfortunately, that God gave us. But that's part of our humanity as well that we're here to fix. And that's covered very well in Torah Vav of Likutei Moharan, where the Rebbe talks about the Ana Emloch and the idea of the Shem Ekye, Aleph K Yud K, which is the name I will be, that we have to reach this level of not yet existing in order to properly exist. So with all these ideas in mind, this Torah goes on and on, my friends. We have more to learn. I'm just looking ahead to see, I think we could finish it today. If we push on, let's do it. And so when Rabbi Akiva spoke Torah in public, he caused the value, the quality, the malchut to come down, because he was speaking it in the streets of Jerusalem in front of pagan Roman soldiers and all kinds of riffraff from who knows where. And Rabbi Akiva was used to speaking to the greatest sages of the generation. Can you imagine if the head of the Supreme Court came out and started talking law on the park bench in Central Park? It would just be a little bit strange, right? So that's kind of like what we got over here. And Rabbi Shimon said, we got to fix this. So I'm going to go to him in jail and I'm going to help him speak the high Torah that's going to fix what was brought down. And especially since Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva's student, was the son of Yochai, who was considered one of the tzaddikim of the generation. And in the Zohar, we have a whole story about how Rabbi Shimon was born, and we have a background of Rabbi Yochai and who he was. He was from the house of the Nasi, which is, of course, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, and all these great leaders of Am Yisrael. And Yochai didn't have children for 20 years, and so he was contemplating divorce, and it's really a worthwhile story to learn. We've learned it here in Berot Bat Ayin, the women's seminary where I teach, because it's very shayach to the idea of Sarah Imenu and a woman who can't have children. And over there, we see that Yochai was a tremendous tzaddik, therefore he has zchut avod, and therefore the merits of your forefathers really do protect you. It's not just yichus, like I'm proud that my grandfather was a rabbi, and I'm proud because my great-grandfather was a judge or wrote a book. No, it's not so simple as the pride that we have in our forefathers. Their achievements protect us like a force field. And that zchut avod is not a simple thing. And this probably explains why in the very Haredi world, people are very interested in the genealogy of a potential shidduch, because we want to know what kind of spiritual power is behind the people we connect to, especially on the level of marriage and having children. And the Rebbe goes on to tell us, I will give you over, force you over to the kingship, that is to the kingship of speaking Torah, Mimsaru ba'alfei Yisrael. I'll send you out, it says in Sefer B'midbar, to send you out from the thousands of Israel. And Rashi says over there, Shrim Saru Bal Korcham, that they are forced. In other words, that when Moses, at a certain point in his career, he could not adjudicate the whole nation. It was too big a job. And of course, his father-in-law Yitro came along and told him to split the peoples up into sections and give out and assign leaders and judges to help the people with their questions and their problems and their issues. And this is the Alfei Yisrael, the leaders of the thousands. And they were forced, he was forced, so to speak, to do so. Ki Rabbi Shimon Yochai. And how does that relate to us now? Rabbi Shimon Yochai yavi et Rabbi Akiva ba'al korcho lebechinat gadlut. That Rabbi Shimon forced Rabbi Akiva to a new, greater level of Malchut, Aidei Shehu Yomar Torah, because he's speaking Torah. So it's a very interesting idea that if you are a student, which all of us are, do not think that your questions are nothing. And do not think that your insights are minimal. But rather, your questions and insights can be the very thing that causes your Rebbe to have a new idea and a new insight himself. And that will expand his consciousness and yours as well. And anybody else who learns that Torah. So we need to have this. It's not that we're equal to our teachers, God forbid. But yet we have a power within us as being students to elevate, to expand the knowledge of our teachers. And you see it very clearly. If you ever notice, if you sit down on a bus or a train next to a religious guy, if he's really on the level, he's opening up a sefer, he's learning. And if he's on even higher level, he'll ask you, what are you learning? And if you're sitting next to someone who is on a bus and you're on your way from Kiryat Sefer to Jerusalem, and you're sitting next to someone who's learning, ask him what he's learning if you get a moment. Share the Torah, because we're commanded the Lech Tcha B'derech. We're commanded to learn the Torah on the way. It's the way that we elevate the derech, and we also protect ourselves and the people around us. But this is also actually giving other people a chance to give over their Torah, and this expands our consciousness. And this is something we have to look for over and over. It's one thing to give over what you know. It's another thing to make yourself into a receiver for what other people know. And by doing so, the whole world benefits. Because Talmidei Chachamim marbin shalom ba'olam. The rabbis create peace in the world because they actually solve disputes and contradictions, and that creates peace. And they also make peace in the world between God and the Jewish people because they cause us to give tzedakah and do good things. And that brings peace between our Father in heaven and the Jewish people here on earth, and that's good for everybody. So have a great day. We'll continue with our daily series on Patreon, and the Next week's will be the last class in the reincarnation series, but if you sign up, you'll get all the old classes. And then we're going to continue, I believe, a new series on creativity in Torah, which will be fascinating because we're going to look at Torah creativity, how how true Torah lifestyle actually enhances our artistic skills and talents. And that'll be both on the level of writing, of painting, sculpture, all the arts, music, all of them. You'll see that when they touch Torah, they expand. God bless all of you. Have a great day.